You wake in a windowless cell, the air thick with sweat, fear, and the faint sting of olive oil. The stone walls press their chill against your bare skin, and from the main house laughter echoes, a laughter sharp enough to twist your stomach into knots. Your body aches from the night before. Bruises bloom across your ribs in grotesque shades of yellow and violet, like cruel flowers etched into flesh. At your ankle, an iron shackle gnaws into raw skin. Every movement flakes off dried blood like rust. Footsteps approach. Heavy sandals scrape against marble, slow and deliberate. You know that sound. It means the overseer is coming, the one who prepares you for what they call service. With trembling hands, you reach for the crumpled tunic in the corner. You are 15, or at least you think you are. Birthdays lost their meaning the day you were brought here. Time runs differently when you are no longer a person but property. The door groans open. Metal against stone, and a harsh blade of sunlight slices into the room. You raise a shaking hand to shield your eyes. In the doorway stands the overseer, a mountain of scarred muscle. His face is a map of cruelty, carved by years spent breaking young spirits. "Wash up," the overseer snaps, flinging a damp cloth at your feet. Your master expects company tonight, distinguished company. His eyes crawl over you, detached and appraising, the way livestock is sized up at market. You'll play your part in their amusement. Your chest tightens. You don't need him to explain. You've understood ever since that first night, when rough hands dragged you screaming from your village and your parents' debts were settled, not with silver but with your body. For many boys in ancient Greece, this was the unspoken reality, not the glorified tale carved into history lessons, where philosophy and democracy gleam untarnished. Beyond the marble temples and elegant debates lay another truth, a system that devoured the powerless and cast them aside like shattered clay. Before we dive into these forgotten stories of survival and suffering, if uncovering history's darker truths fascinates you, tap the like button and consider subscribing for more. And drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from. I'm always amazed at how our shared curiosity for the past connects us across time and continents as we explore these ancient tales together. The path to this life began long before you realized it. Perhaps your parents owed more than they could ever repay to a wealthy landowner. Maybe raiders swept through your village during the endless wars that scarred the Greek world. Or perhaps it was simply your misfortune to be born with a face considered too beautiful in a society where beauty itself was bought and sold. In scattered hamlets across the Greek countryside, families lived on the razor's edge of survival. A failed harvest, an injured father, a sudden death in the household. Any of these could push a family into crippling debt, and when the collectors arrived, they weren't interested in promises or future harvests. They demanded payment in flesh. Picture a tiny farming community, tucked into a valley of olive groves. The houses are crude, built of mud, brick and reeds, their floors nothing but hard-packed earth. Each family shares a single room, crowding together for warmth at night. Children run barefoot between the dwellings, their laughter mingling with the bleating of goats and the steady grind of women working the mills. It is a life of hardship, yes, but still, undeniably, a life. Then, the drought arrives. Week after week, the pitiless sun beats down on withered fields. The ancient, gnarled olive trees yield only shriveled fruit. Barley stalks turn brittle and brown. Wells that had sustained the village for generations begin to cough up dust, and so families face choices no parent should ever confront. First go the animals, the goats and sheep that were once their only wealth. Next, the heirlooms, the jewelry handed down through bloodlines. When those two are gone, their eyes inevitably turn to their children. Slave traders descend like vultures to carrion. They set up in the village square, chains and ropes coiled at their sides like iron serpents, ledgers thick with names and prices. They offer instant coin for long years of bondage, 20 seasons of service in exchange for enough silver to feed a household through winter, to parents watching their children waste away. The bargain seems not cruel but almost merciful. But you are 13 years old. You don't understand the arithmetic of desperation. All you know is that your father won't meet your eyes as he bargains over your price. All you know is that your mother turns away, her face rigid as the trader pries open your mouth to check your teeth like you were a horse at market. Rough hands pinch at your arms and shoulders, weighing muscle, appraising strength. You hear words, promising, well kept, fit for household service, but their meaning is still beyond you. The merchant counts silver coins into your father's palm. Each one glints in the sunlight, every disc another year of your life bartered away. Your father's fingers tremble as he accepts the payment, yet he accepts it all the same. Your mother covers her face and weeps, but does nothing to stop the transaction. They tell you it's temporary, that you'll earn your way back, return home, perhaps even buy land of your own one day, maybe take a wife. They promise kindness, training, the chance to rise. Lies spill from their mouths like honey dripping from a broken comb, sweet but poisoned all the same. The march to the city is a waking nightmare of chained necks and blistered feet. You are no longer a boy but a link in a living caravan. Dozens of men and youths fastened together by iron and despair. The older ones rarely speak. They have already learned that hope is just another word for disappointment. The younger ones sob for their mothers until their voices collapse, or until the overseers beat the sound out of their throats. You pass through landscapes that would be beautiful under any other circumstances. Rolling hills draped in olive groves, coastal roads where the sea flashes like scattered jewels, mountain passes where eagles wheel overhead. But none of it registers. Your universe has shrunk to the length of chain between you and the boy ahead, the rhythm of feet on stone, and the gnawing certainty that home will never come again. At night, they fasten you to wooden stakes driven into the earth. You lie in the dirt on your side, listening to the muffled sobs of the other captives, the weight of iron around your neck pressing down like a collar of destiny. Sometimes the traders bring strangers to inspect their merchandise. Men with soft hands and cold eyes drift among you, the way farmers examine livestock. They probe for illness, for weakness, for scars, judging your worth for different kinds of service. You begin to recognize the different breeds of buyers. The farm owners look for bulk and stamina, men who can endure the fields from sunrise to dusk. Household masters want something else. Obedience, quick wits, a trace of fragility that suggests you won't cause trouble. But there is a third kind, and soon you learn to dread their presence the most. These men arrive dressed in fine robes, their accents polished, their skin scented with expensive oils and wine. Rings glitter on their fingers. Their gaze lingers too long. Their hands brush against you just enough to raise goose flesh. They seek something specific, not labor but pleasure. A mix of youth and beauty that can be consumed. The slave market in Athens is an assault on every sense. First the noise. Hundreds of voices haggling, shouting, pleading, ordering. Then the stench. Unwashed bodies, sweat, fear, piss, and something fouler you can't quite name. And finally, the sight. Now you understand why the older slaves told you never to look up. Naked bodies lined like merchandise. Children barely steady on their feet, clinging to their mothers, eyes wide with confusion. Old men with bent backs and hollow eyes, their value reduced to whatever strength remains in failing muscles. And everywhere the buyers, circling like sharks, gesturing and murmuring prices as if those on the platform were deaf to every word. Before you are sold, they scrub you down and coat your skin in oil. Not out of kindness, clean flesh fetches a higher price. The sheen makes you glisten in the sun, accentuating the lean muscles carved by the march. Someone has decided you are too fine for field work, and so you're placed among the house slaves, reserved for indoor service. The auctioneer's voice cuts across the market, reciting your features, your age, your place of origin, the condition of your body. He praises your appearance and your gentle manner, coded signals that make certain buyers lean forward with interest. Bidding begins low but escalates quickly as more men enter the contest. You stand frozen on the platform, trying to retreat inside yourself while strange hands prod and test you. One forces your mouth open to inspect your teeth, another grips your hand to measure its strength. A third runs fingers through your hair, commenting on texture and color. You are no longer a person, only a commodity to be priced. The man who claims you is named Leonidas. You'll learn that later, Now all you see is his satisfied smile as he counts out the silver. Even before the coins change hands, his eyes tell you he already owns you. He is middle-aged, well-fed, his hands soft with idleness. His tunic is woven from deep purple silk, a color that screams wealth and status. But it is the look he gives you, the expression that makes your gut clench, that makes you want to flee, even though the chains around your body leave no escape. Leonidas owns a vast house in one of Athens' wealthiest districts, a residence larger than your entire village. Marble pillars rise at the entrance, walls painted in vivid colors, floors decorated with intricate mosaics of gods and heroes. Servants hurry through the corridors with trays of wine, their movements brisk, nervous. Many of them are young men, each handsome in a different way, yet all wearing the same expression you are beginning to recognize: the hollow, submissive gaze of captivity. The overseer assigned to you is Marcus, a man who himself was once enslaved as a boy. Through sharp intelligence and ruthless discipline, he climbed into authority, and now governs the household servants with an iron will. As he leads you through the villa, he recites the rules. 2 meals a day, barley porridge in the morning, bread and olives at night, fresh clothes once a week. You will wash when told, eat when told, sleep when told. You will only speak when spoken to. You will never look directly into the eyes of a freeborn. And you will never refuse an order, no matter what it demands. Then comes the part that freezes the blood in your veins. You are here to serve the master and his guests in whatever way is required. That may mean pouring wine, carrying dishes, cleaning rooms, or providing entertainment. Marcus explains this with a cruel smile. The nature of that entertainment will become clear in time.
Some captives fight back at first, Marcus tells you, his tone flat. But defiance only leads to suffering. Compliance, however, can win small favors: a fuller bowl, a warmer corner to sleep in, maybe even a trinket or two. Your sleeping quarters lie in the underbelly of the house, a row of narrow stone cells for the male slaves. Each holds nothing more than a bundle of straw for a bed, a thin rag of a blanket, and a chamber pot. The walls are built thick to choke sound. Soon enough you'll understand the reason. The others look at you with a mix of pity and warning. There is Dorian, about your age, who has survived here for 2 years. His gaze is heavy with grief no child should know. Then Callias, older, his body marked with scars, who leans close to whisper of the wealthy guests who come to the villa and the entertainment they demand. And Theron, hardly 14. Yet his expression carries the sorrow of someone twice his years. He was once the son of a shopkeeper, until his father's debts swallowed everything, children included. For 6 months he has been here, and it is he who reveals the grim truths of the symposia. Greek culture celebrated the symposium, an evening gathering where educated men drank, debated philosophy, discussed politics, and recited poetry. In memory, these events are painted as refined, almost noble occasions, places where the brightest minds of the ancient world exchanged ideas. But the reality was often very different, especially once the wine flowed freely and the guests began to demand more intimate diversions. Slaves were expected to provide not only food and drink, but their own bodies. The same philosophers who spoke of virtue in the daylight hours felt no shame in using young captives at night. The very poets who composed elegant verses about love and honor treated living boys as disposable ornaments of pleasure. It is Theron who explains the rituals of preparation, his voice hollow, as if he were describing someone else's life. The slaves would be bathed and oiled until their skin gleamed. They were dressed in special tunics. Thin, clinging fabrics meant not to cover, but to entice. Sometimes jewelry was added, golden bracelets, necklaces, tokens that marked them less as servants and more as objects, to be displayed and consumed. The symposium begins with an air of formality. Guests recline on couches arranged around the room, while slaves pour wine and carry in elaborate dishes. The men talk of lofty matters: democracy, the teachings of Socrates, the latest campaigns at the edge of the empire. They are educated, refined, proud of their intellectual sophistication. But as the night wears on and the wine takes hold, the mood shifts. Philosophy fades into coarse amusement. Stories sour into crude jokes. Scholarly debate dissolves into boastful contests of ego. And the slaves, who until now have lingered quietly at the edges of the chamber, suddenly find themselves at the center of attention.
It begins with small commands. Pour wine for this guest. Massage his shoulders. Feed grapes to the man on that couch. On the surface, each order seems harmless, but you learn to read the signs, the way conversations hush as you approach, the lingering touches that have nothing to do with wine, the predatory eyes tracking your every move. The first time you are chosen for special service, you are too naive to understand. An older guest, old enough to be your grandfather, beckons you to his couch. He claims he only wants to share his wine, to hear about your homeland, to learn about your family. His questions sound gentle at first. Where are you from? Do you miss home? Are they treating you well here? All the while, his hand rests on your shoulder. Slowly, it drifts lower. You try to pull away, but his grip hardens. The room grows quiet. The other guests watch, their amusement sharpening. What happens next brands itself into your memory. Your protests ignored, your struggles answered with laughter, the helplessness as hands force you down, the tearing of fabric, the moment your childhood is ripped away in the most merciless fashion imaginable. Afterward, you lie on the thin bedding of your cell, staring at the stone ceiling. You try to comprehend how the world can hold so much cruelty. Your body throbs, but the deeper wounds carve into your spirit. You no longer feel human. You are an object, discarded and used, for the pleasure of men who compose poetry about the soul. But that night is only the beginning. In the months that follow, you discover that what happened then was considered tame by the household standards. Some guests nurse particular appetites, repeating their cruelties like rituals. Others turn it into a contest. Who can crush a slave's spirit most completely? The overseer encourages it, knowing that the more broken you become, the easier you are to control. Soon, you see the house for what it is, a hierarchy of abuse. New arrivals serve as fresh prey, torn apart for the guests' amusement. Those who survive long enough may be shifted into other roles, personal attendants to softer masters, or kitchen hands who avoid direct notice. But such promotion demands more than endurance. It requires surrender, offering up every scrap of dignity, until you no longer resist, but participate in your own undoing. Some captives fight back. Dorian tried to escape in his first month. When they dragged him back, the beating left him limping for weeks. Callias once refused a degrading command. For that, he was chained in the courtyard 3 days without food or water, left to bake under the sun as a warning. Resistance takes many shapes. Some vanish inside themselves, walking shells, bodies present, spirits gone. Others turn cunning, reading moods, dodging blows, surviving through submission. And a few choose the only freedom left: death, sickness, wounds, despair. You've seen boys stop eating, stop answering, stop caring. The markets always bring more. Breaking slaves is an art of cruelty. Isolation cuts first. You are severed from all you knew, left among the powerless. Sympathy may exist, but protection does not. Then comes unpredictability. You never know when you'll be summoned, what will be demanded, or how brutal the punishment will be. The uncertainty itself eats away resistance. But the sharpest blade is identity's erasure. Your name stripped, replaced with one made to charm Athenian ears. Your tongue silenced, your customs banned. You wear their clothes, eat their food, bow to their gods. Bit by bit, everything that made you you is scraped away. The men who gather at Leonidas's villa are Athens' elite. Merchants, officials, philosophers, artists, names carved in history as shapers of civilization. Yet here, behind closed doors, their masks fall. One is Themistios, a politician hailed in the assembly for his speeches on justice. In public, he champions rights and virtue. In private, he recites Homer while forcing children into acts too shameful to name. Then comes Nicandros, a merchant hailed for bankrolling civic projects and admired for his supposed generosity toward the poor. In the public eye, he is charity incarnate,
Behind closed doors, he indulges in cruelty, leaving his slaves battered and broken. He calls it education, claiming that pain teaches the natural order of society. Most disturbing of all is Chrysanthos, a philosopher celebrated for his writings on virtue and the good life. In the Agora, he preaches self-restraint and reverence for the divine. But when wine dulls his reason and shadows his mind, he becomes a predator, draped in rhetoric, bending philosophy itself into a weapon to excuse every act of depravity. For men like these, contradiction does not exist. In their eyes, slaves belong to a different moral sphere. The virtues demanded among equals, justice, generosity, restraint, do not extend to possessions. A man may appear noble to neighbors, fair to peers, and ruthless to slaves, without ever feeling the weight of hypocrisy. This blindness seeped through every layer of Greek society. The same culture that gave birth to dazzling art, groundbreaking philosophy, and radical politics also normalized the stripping away of entire classes of people's humanity. It wasn't a flaw, it was the foundation. The leisure that allowed free men to chase truth and beauty rested squarely on the labor of the enslaved. As months blurred into years, you crafted survival strategies you could never have imagined as a child. You learned to read the subtle cues in a guest's eyes, to anticipate moods, to detect danger before it erupted. You mastered the art of absence, outwardly obedient, yet retreating so deep inside that a sliver of your spirit remained untouched. But survival came at a cost. Each compromise with cruelty cracked something essential within you. Every bowed head reinforced the message that you were powerless, disposable, unworthy. The boy who once laughed beneath the olive trees now drifted through life like a hollow-eyed ghost, haunting his own body. The other captives became the only family you had left, stitched together by shared trauma and the fragile armor of mutual protection. You invented a silent language of glances and gestures, warnings passed without words. You shared scraps of food, rotated night watches during the rare hours of rest, and clung to each other when nightmares pressed too heavy to bear alone. Yet even those bonds were poisoned by the system itself. Competition for favor twisted allies into rivals. The promise of softer treatment tempted some to betray escape plots or expose another's smallest mistake. The very ties that kept you sane were also turned into instruments of control.
On nights when you lie in the straw, staring into darkness, the faces of your family fade until only the laughter of your tormentors remains. Your father's voice is buried beneath the sobs of other captives. The past drifts like smoke, and the nightmare of the present stretches into forever. By the second year, you are no longer just scarred, you are reshaped. Your accent erased, your posture bent, your very thoughts trained to anticipate the moods of men who own you. This is the system's cruelest victory. Not just forcing obedience, but teaching the enslaved to chain themselves. And yet, in whispers, defiance endures. In carved figures hidden in stone, in songs too soft for overseers to hear, in the remembered names of the dead. Bearing witness becomes rebellion. Memory itself becomes resistance. Years blur into one another. You master invisibility, the art of vanishing into service. You pour wine for men who debate virtue, while you know the truth. They are not ignorant of their cruelty. They are intelligent enough to understand, and monstrous enough to choose it anyway. Civilization and savagery do not oppose one another. They feed each other. When youth finally slips away, you are sold to the mines. There, in the choking dark, you discover solidarity. Slaves share scraps of food, fragments of language, stories that refuse to die. Your suffering becomes part of this secret history, carried forward in whispers. Death comes quietly, but your voice does not vanish. It joins the chorus of countless forgotten lives, the true foundation on which every empire is built. The Greeks gave the world democracy, philosophy, and art, but all of it stood on broken backs. And today, the same cycle remains, hidden behind laws, markets, and technologies. Faces change, systems evolve. The powerful still feast on the powerless. We tell ourselves we are better, we are not. We have only found more elegant ways to mask the same barbarity. We were them. They are us. Time is no cure. It is only an alibi.